Welcome to ABC 7's continuing coverage of Vote 10. I'm Rick Cabrera. Joining us now are the two candidates vying to be El Paso's county judge. On your right is Republican Jaime Opérez, the chief of staff for current county judge Anthony Gobos. Gobos is not running for re-election. And on your left is Democrat and Precinct 2 County Commissioner Veronica Escobar. She has represented Precinct 2 since 2007. Precinct 2 includes a majority of central El Paso, with a portion of northeast El Paso, the lower valley, and the west side. I want to thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Well, let's get started. We'll begin with you, Mr. Perez, and we ask that you limit your answers to about 30 seconds or so. First question, why do you want to be county judge?
I think it's time for the county to begin to move in a new direction. We need to adopt fiscal conservative principles. We need to do what we're mandated to do and do it well. And we need to get out of the business of trying to be everything to everybody. There are a lot of non-mandated programs that eat up the budget. As a consequence, we have continual tax revenue that comes into the county from taxpayers. 40% of renters can't pay their rent. There are a lot of people having trouble with their mortgages. We need to start being a great deal more fiscal conservative.
Mrs. Escobar, you've already been a part of Commissioner's Court since 2007. Why make the move to county judge?
Because I feel that the county has not done enough to promote El Paso as an economic player, to recruit new jobs and new industry, and to really play a huge role in turning El Paso around. For at least 2 decades, maybe even 3 decades, there was a lot of divestment in this community. We lost a lot of talent. We had a hard time recruiting jobs, keeping jobs, and instead of being an anchor, I'd like the county to be an asset in this community, and we can be. It doesn't take a lot of money, it just takes great leadership.
Question 2, what in your mind is the biggest issue facing the county? And tell us specifically, how would you fix that problem? And let's start with Commissioner Escobar.
Well, we started facing a deficit 3 years ago when the economy slumped. And so in 2009, we began significant cuts at the county. In fact, we've cut $25 million from the budget since 2009. This year, we had to increase our revenues, and we did that through a 2-cent tax increase. What we will have to do going into the future is ensure that we collect as many revenues as possible through outstanding fees, probably continue to shrink government, but also do our best to get our fair share from the state of Texas.
Mr. Bettis, same question.
The economy and jobs definitely are the problems that the county is going to have to deal with. Continued violence in Juarez is a problem that is going to continue to affect us, again, in the pocketbook. We cannot continue piling up fees and taxes on the taxpayers of El Paso. As I said before, on the renter side, on the mortgage side, almost 40% of the people are having trouble meeting their payments. We can no longer have government continually go to taxpayers to subsidize what everyone should be doing, which is carrying their own load and being self-sufficient.
Next question. Faced with a multi-million-dollar budget deficit, commissioners had to make some difficult cuts and still had to raise taxes by about $23 a year for the average El Paso home, which is about a $122,000 home. And tell us where you stand on the tax increase, and if given the opportunity to reverse one of those cuts, which one would it be and why? Let's begin with you, Mr. Bettis.
Well, I don't agree with the tax increase. What I would have done, I wouldn't have cut the family court. I think domestic violence is the biggest issue that we face as a community, unfortunately. What I would restore, if it could be redone, that would be it. But I also would cut further into those things that are non-mandated. I would outsource human resources. I would look at some of the benefits of the contract to deputies. There is quite rich, and continue to cut a little bit more there.
Mrs. Escobar, you voted for the tax increase. Talk about your decision and which one would you take back if you could.
It was the responsible decision to make. Our auditor told us repeatedly that if we did not increase taxes modestly this year, we would have to make twice the amount of cuts next year and raise taxes about twice as much. And so instead of affecting that kind of catastrophe on taxpayers next year, I chose to take the hit and make a very difficult decision this year in the middle of a campaign. If I had to take back any of the cuts, that's a tough question because everybody is suffering. I probably would restore justice and restore that family court.
Thank you both. Moving on, there's been a lot of talk about consolidation. In particular, the county and city appear to be leaning toward creating a regional park authority that would manage our area parks and have the power to tax residents. Tell us if you oppose or support creating this new taxing entity and why? And we'll start with you, Commissioner Escobar.
I support creating the regional parks district. It doesn't necessarily have to be a new taxing entity. I've had conversations with former legislators and current legislators about creative ways that we could fund the parks district. What we would do immediately is the city and the county would lower their tax rate, shift over the taxes that we're using for parks over to this district, and we could enact legislation that would utilize hotel motel tax to fund some of those parks districts and other fees paid for by out-of-town folks.
Mr. Bettis, consolidating.
I absolutely support coordination of services. Consolidation is a non-issue. It's structurally impossible. That would mean eliminating the police department and making it part of the sheriff. That just is not going to happen. But I think that we can buy things together. Certainly all of the school districts, the city, the county, we can buy things together, make things less expensive. That sort of coordination and cooperation is absolutely essential. But